Wednesday, March 12th, 2025. You are listening to the Daly Dose Sports Podcast, and I am your host, Clint Daly, coming to you from the Mile High City here in Denver, Colorado, and we are back for another week of talking sports with a dose of common sense. Hey, happy Wednesday to you. Hope you had a good weekend. I hope that your week is off to a strong start. I hope that you, your family, your friends, you're all staying strong and you're all staying healthy right now. And man, are you feeling that daylight savings time change yet? I know it's just 1 hour. I get it. It's only an hour, right? But wow, that stings like when your foot would slip off your jagged bike pedal and that thing would spin back and hit you in the shin, right? Oh, the last few days have just been painful, but I do like that evening daylight. I just don't know if I like it enough. Can we just stay on this? Do you have to change back again in the fall? Can we just keep it here so I don't have to go through this every season? I can't stand the change. Just stay here. Hey, one quick announcement I do want to make on the dose. We do it every year, but I know we've been picking up new listeners. This weekend is Selection Sunday for the NCAA Men's Tournament. When that is released, ESPN will have their ESPN Men's Tournament Challenge. Go over there, search for the group that is named Daly Dose Sports Podcast, and join our group. You submit your picks, it is free, and the winner at the end can get a Daly Dose t-shirt. You can only submit one bracket. Don't want anybody going in and cheating and just picking 50 brackets. That's not how this works. One bracket, make your picks, and a Daly Dose t-shirt, and way more important, bragging rights are on the line. Hey, the Dose bracket has been growing more and more every year. I will be posting links on our website to the bracket, and I will be posting them on social media, but anyone is welcome to enter, so don't say you didn't know. Come make your picks, prove you know college hoops. That will go up this next week. March Madness is the one sporting event that always lives up to the hype. Get ready. Also, remember, you should be stopping by DailyDoseSports.com anyways every week to see what new things we have going on over there. We have links to the podcast. We have links to videos. We have links to articles that I put up each week. And you can email the podcast as well. Just write us at dailydosesports@gmail.com. We do hear from listeners here and there, and it is always good to hear from them. If it's good enough, we just might end up using it on the show. And remember, when you do go to dailydosesports.com, you can pick up some Daly Dose gear. You may need a t-shirt. You may need a hoodie. You may need a sweatshirt. You may need a baseball hat in your life. You can access all of it at dailydosesports.com. Hey, today on the Dose, NFL free agency has been wild. We do have a little bit of Major League Baseball, NBA, and yes, even a little WNBA news to talk. And then we are going to continue to get you ready for that NCAA tournament by discussing a few teams you might want to be at least a little bit wary of as you fill out your brackets. Plus, we will have a Daly Dose Top 5 for you today. You know, every year, we have a few teams that are left with a cold, empty feeling on Selection Sunday. We will be talking about who really deserved to feel that way because they were done dirty. But first, let's get into a little bit of news. And like I said, wow, have we seen some wild action in NFL free agency. We knew it was coming. We always know it's going to be there. But right now, we are going to recap as many of the big moves as we can. And I know there's a bunch. I'm going to miss a few. But get ready. Here is your NFL free agency recap. The Washington Commanders have traded a host of draft picks to Houston for Pro Bowl left tackle Laramie Tunsil. And the way the Commanders are spending money right now, it makes me think they took a turn in his gas mask. The Texans also traded for Philadelphia Eagles safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson, which is fine as long as he can play offensive line. The Seattle Seahawks have signed quarterback Sam Darnold to a 3-year deal worth more than $100 million. And with the amount of help Darnold will have up there, I fully expect him to get back to looking like the New York Jets version again very soon. Speaking of those New York Jets, they signed quarterback Justin Fields to a 2-year deal worth $40 million. You know, if I didn't know better, I would say it's almost like all these NFL teams would rather pay big money to average quarterbacks than draft either Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward in the upcoming NFL draft. The Los Angeles Rams have signed wide receiver Devontae Adams to a 2-year deal worth $46 million. The only downside is that the state of California will not give him a permit to have a Taco Bell in his house. Big surprise there. The Minnesota Vikings have re-signed running back Aaron Jones to a 2-year, $20 million deal. Now, if only they had a quarterback. The Cleveland Browns re-signed Myles Garrett to a $123.5 million guaranteed deal because with that big fat paycheck, he apparently now believes once again Cleveland could win the Super Bowl, right? The Buffalo Bills signed quarterback Josh Allen to a 6-year, $330 million deal with $250 million of that guaranteed. Also guaranteed, he will not beat the Kansas City Chiefs. The Bills did also release pass rusher Von Miller, so he currently will not be rushing the quarterback, much like when the Bills faced the Chiefs in the playoffs. The New Orleans Saints restructured the deal of quarterback Derek Carr to save nearly $31 million in cap space this season, or if I average that out, that's about $1 per dumb decision. The Kansas City Chiefs re-signed wide receiver Hollywood Brown to a 1-year, $11 million deal because he's the only Chiefs wideout that hasn't got arrested yet. And the Las Vegas Raiders traded for Seattle Seahawks quarterback Geno Smith, despite the fact that his numbers are actually not quite as good as Derek Carr's. Don't believe me? Look it up. Okay, there you go. All caught up. Oh, and by the way, the Dallas Cowboys have done absolutely nothing. Now you're caught up. Okay, moving over to Major League Baseball. New York Yankees right-hander Garrett Cole will be undergoing Tommy John surgery. The team announced that on Monday. That ends his 2025 season before it even starts. And it leaves the club staggering from yet another blow as they were preparing to try to defend their American League pennant. The decision to have the surgery, which will sideline Cole for the 2025 season and probably well into the 2026 season, it was made after they saw a second opinion. Apparently, the doctor on the second opinion stated that Cole could play, but with the Los Angeles Dodgers buying another title, what's the point really? Moving over to the NBA. Los Angeles Lakers superstar LeBron James suffered a strained groin on Saturday night as the Lakers lost a primetime game to the Boston Celtics. Now, this injury took place just hours after LeBron had confronted ESPN personality Stephen A. Smith, and according to what everyone is guessing, he was scolding Smith for saying that LeBron's son Bronny was not actually ready to play at the NBA level. LeBron apparently took exception to that. Now, who are you going to believe? LeBron or your own lying eyes? Lakers team doctors say the injury could keep LeBron out for a week or two and may attribute the injury to age and also a heavy dose of karma. We don't talk much about the WNBA here on The Dose. I know that's kind of been a running joke, but buckle up because it is happening this week. WNBA player Angel Reese ignited a social media firestorm after she claimed that players are prepared to sit out games to demand higher salaries. That is what she said on her podcast on Friday. Reese addressed the next WNBA collective bargaining agreement, and she had this to say: I've got to get in those meetings because I'm hearing if y'all don't give us what we want, we sitting out. The WNBA don't pay my bills at all. I don't even think it pays one of my bills. Literally. That's what Reese had to say. Now, Reese's comments incited a heated debate on social media that a WNBA player strike could actually bring about higher salaries. Okay, well, here's the problem. The WNBA has never turned a profit in its entire existence. It has been subsidized since the very beginning of its existence by the NBA. So let me try to make a simple comparison. Okay, let's say that, you're like a kid and you have a lemonade stand and no one comes to your lemonade stand. No one buys lemonade from your stand. And you said, you know what? If Coca-Cola doesn't start paying me some serious cash, I'm not going to keep running this lemonade stand because it isn't paying my bills. This, kids, is what Angel Reese is threatening to do right now. Because no one is buying that lemonade. No one really cares about the lemonade. It's not like she went out and created this wonderful, amazing lemonade that everyone's dying to get some of. Nobody wants it. No one cares. And also, it's not lemonade in this case. It's just pee.
Ah, pee and poop.
So Selection Sunday is this weekend for the NCAA tournament, and I'll be honest, I cannot wait. We had that lull right after the Super Bowl, just kind of waiting for the next big thing. And then we get to March Madness, and for about 2-3 weeks, it's amazing. And once again, we have a wide open field, and I really think we have probably 8 to 10 teams that are capable at least of winning it all. And beyond that, every single team in the field is also capable of being knocked out at any second. That makes for a really fun tournament. Get ready for buzzer beaters. Get ready for upsets and comebacks and great performances because, we get them every year and we're going to get them again this year. Now, we will see what the conference tournaments have in store for us. But if I were seeding right now, and I believe how the committee will seed, I believe they're going to give Auburn, Duke, Houston, and Florida the top 4 seeds. I think that'll be close to what it'll be. That could change just a little bit depending on the conference tournaments, but I think that's in the ballpark. But today, I want to give you all a little bit of a warning. Hey, you don't have to listen to me. You can do whatever you want. But today, we are going to give you some blue blood programs with big names that you might want to be at least a little skeptical about. I'm not saying they can't get hot. Hey, we remember teams that were struggling going into the tournament. Suddenly they hit their stride and they roll. North Carolina State, Villanova, Georgia Tech, Fairleigh Dickinson, they were all limping along. They didn't look very strong. Suddenly they got hot and they had an amazing run. That could happen here. But again, there are times you will see a blue blood program on the bracket line. And sometimes when we fill those brackets out, we just instantly have them advance, right? All I'm saying is be careful of these teams. Be cautious. You might still pick them, but be careful of having them advance too far because they might come back to bite you. Here are some blue blood programs you need to be wary of. Let's start in the Big East, where the Marquette Golden Eagles are most likely going to earn a berth in the field, and they should. Head coach Shaka Smart has proven he is more than capable of getting a team rolling in March. Hey, we all remember his amazing run with VCU back in 2012, right? And I really like guard Cam Jones. He has had an amazing career. Here's what I don't like about Marquette. As usual under Shaka, the Golden Eagles pride themselves on defense. They allow just 67 points per game. That's solid. It's not elite, but that's solid. Except Marquette is a really bad defensive rebounding team. We just saw it this past weekend against St. John's. They play decent pressure defense, and then they give up an offensive board, and they get beat at the buzzer. Hey, you can be an amazing defensive team. If you can't rebound, you're not a great defensive team. You're in trouble. I don't trust Marquette for that reason. Next up, this is going to sound like blasphemy, but I just don't trust the Gonzaga Bulldogs this year. Hey, the Bulldogs can score some serious points, as usual, under head coach Mark Few, and what he's done up there in Washington is nothing short of amazing. They have some talented players. Ryan Nembhard, we've watched him for a few years. Ike Graham, very solid player. The Zags have 8 wins over BPI top 100 opponents. That sounds good, right? Here's the problem. They only have 1 win over top 50 teams. That's not so good. Now, they are favored to win the West Coast Conference. The problem is they can't seem to beat St. Mary's this year. Gonzaga is just 2-3 against ranked teams this year. My concern for Gonzaga is simple. As the season has worn on, I don't think they can beat quality teams. That's going to be a bad sign for March Madness. They better figure something out quick because they haven't performed well when they face the big dogs. Okay, feel free to doubt me with this next pick. Totally get it. Totally understand. You have to beat the champs, especially the back-to-back champs. But I don't trust Connecticut this season. I know Dan Hurley and the Huskies have won the last 2 titles, but this group doesn't excel in key areas like those teams did. Once again, the Huskies are also soft on the glass, so they can't get key stops when they need them because they can't complete the defensive possession with a defensive rebound. Here's a bigger problem for Connecticut. They have 9 losses so far. They'll probably take 1 more, which means we're probably going to see the UConn Huskies be like an 8 or a 9 seed. You know what that means in the tournament? That means you've got to face one of those number 1 seeds in the second round. Yeah, good luck. That will be a very tough road for a team that, like I said, has struggled at times. Just like in the NFL, I don't think we're going to see a three-peat this year. Not in college hoops either. Okay, I'm not going out on much of a limb here, but I don't think the Kansas Jayhawks are very trustworthy. Remember when the Jayhawks got big man Hunter Dickinson from Michigan, like over the offseason this last year, and people were kind of penciling them in for a Final Four run? Yeah, those days are over. Dickinson, it's not his fault. He's been solid this year, but he's not getting a ton of help. Remember, you need good guards in the big dance. And the Jayhawks guards have been inconsistent. In games against quality competition, their guards have wilted. And that's a really bad sign going into this tournament. Kansas looks pretty good on paper, but when they start facing the good teams, the quality teams that have good backcourts, Kansas could get upset by a team that you never see coming because they just have that talent at the guard position. Be careful, those Jayhawks this year. I will finish off our March Madness teams that I do not trust in a league that I don't trust completely. Out of this league, I'd take one team, and that is the ACC. Hey, remember when Atlantic Coast Conference was like the gold standard for college basketball? And I know these things are cyclical, but that cycle in the ACC is ebbing right now. It is not flowing. Think about this. The ACC will probably get just 3 teams in the tournament this year. That's insane. We're used to Duke and Carolina and Wake Forest and Georgia Tech and NC State and Louisville and all these teams just getting, hey, that's just what they do. The ACC is loaded every year, right? Yeah, not this year. This year, we're going to get probably 3 teams. Of course, the Duke Blue Devils are the number 1 team in the country right now, and they are loaded. They're going to be a handful. But the rest of this conference is pretty average. And a lot of this conference is pretty bad. So while the Louisville Cardinals are currently ranked in the top 15, they have won 25 games this year. Remember, they're not facing the usual ACC competition. Louisville is just 1-4 versus ranked teams this year. They are benefiting greatly from being in a really average conference. I would say be very cautious of the Cardinals because I don't trust them. I think they're getting over on soft competition, and that will come back to bite you in the tournament. I hate to bring this up, but you think back to teams like Gonzaga who play in soft conferences, a lot of times that comes back to bite you. Be cautious of the Cardinals. Like I said, we know teams can get hot at the right time. They can get rolling. And these teams I gave you today, they have really good head coaches, so that is possible. But I would be very cautious of advancing any of these teams too far in your bracket. You might get yourself in trouble because I think these teams, even though they have the big name, we know the committees love big names, they just might end up letting you down. Now, as we do so many weeks here at the Daily Dose, we need to get over to our Daily Dose Top 5. Yes, Sunday is Selection Sunday, and it is one of the most exciting days in sports as we'll be pouring over our brackets. We'll be trying to make the picks that will win us our bracket pools. However, Selection Sunday is not always fun for everyone. On Sunday, there's going to be probably 70 to 80 teams all holding their breath for 68 spots. And don't get me wrong, I don't feel too bad for teams that can't get in when the tournament does take nearly 70 teams. Think about that in football. We just got to 12. They take 70 almost in this tournament. That seems like you should be able to get in. Here's the problem, though. Sometimes the mid-major schools, they get left in the cold. Not because they didn't play anyone, although sometimes they didn't, but many times it's because major schools refuse to play them. We don't want to play you. We're not going to give you half of our gate for you to come into our building and beat us. No, you go play in your own conference. We don't want to play you. That part seems less than fair, doesn't it? Today, our Daily Dose Top 5 is counting down the 5 biggest March Madness snubs. Now, here's a question we can all ask, I guess. Would these 5 teams have made any noise had they gotten into the tournament? We'll never know. A lot of times, these teams went to, say, the NIT and they go, oh, well, they got beat in the NIT, so big deal, it didn't matter anyways. That's not the same. The NIT is a huge letdown after you're hoping to get into the tournament. So that is an accurate gauge. I would have loved to see some of these teams in the tournament. I would have loved to know how they would have done. Let's go ahead and jump in. We start off at number 5. And we go back to 2016, where, of course, we reach a team that is a mid-major and got left behind. Now, this group managed to go 22-8 on the season. They finished in a tie for the Atlantic 10 regular season title. They went 3-2 versus RPI top 50 teams. That's pretty good. They had 3 top 25 wins and a 7-5 record versus the top 100. Here's the problem. St. Bonaventure isn't a household name. Yes, they had head coach Mark Schmidt and guard Jalen Adams, who would eventually play a little in the NBA. But, I mean, who remembers either of them, and who knows where St. Bonaventure even is? And if you don't think the selection committee looks at that name on the line, then I've got some oceanfront property to sell you in northern Colorado. It really was bewildering how the Bonnies got left out. I realize the non-conference showing wasn't great, but even if you acknowledge that, their league showing had some top wins, and they performed really well against the top 100. Here's the clinching part for me. The committee brought schools in like Michigan and Tulsa and Vanderbilt who didn't have as big of a resume, as quality of a resume as St. Bonaventure did. But what do those 3 schools have? That's right, they've got brand recognition. And more importantly than that even, they've got conference recognition. And I fully believe these committees, they're in the business of keeping conferences happy. As a result, St. Bonaventure, who had won 10 of their final 11 games and was smoking hot down the stretch until a double overtime loss to Davidson in the Atlantic 10 tourney. And as a result of that loss, the committee said, nope, you're not good enough. You're out. Hey, St. Bonaventure deserved to be in the tournament in 2016. They didn't make it. That puts them on our list today at number 5. We arrive at number 4. And you probably don't hear much about this team because it's, again, not a big brand name. It's not from a so-called power conference, but you should. Because back in 1990, remember, UNLV was rolling, a team that should have been firmly in the NCAA tournament as like an 8 or a 9 at least, was kept out because the selection committee wanted to send a message. I'm not joking. Because that is what happened to the Long Beach State 49ers in 1990. Long Beach had wins over an NCAA tournament 2 seed from the Big Ten. They beat Purdue. They had 2 wins over a number 6 seed. They beat New Mexico State twice. And another on the road at a 10 seed, which was Texas. That's 4 RPI 35 wins in all. Head coach Joe Harrington had an assistant by the name of Seth Greenberg. Guard Lucius Harris ended up having a pretty lengthy stay in the NBA. However, Long Beach was kept out because the committee didn't like that their conference played their championship game after the unveiling of the bracket. Well, that wasn't Long Beach's fault. And I understand TV was pulling the strings and maybe their conference should have been smarter about it, but Long Beach didn't do anything. So the Big West played when they played. Long Beach State was the wrong team at the wrong time. And the committee made a point. But they absolutely deserved a spot. Here's what's crazy. Long Beach State finished with a 22-8 record. 3 of those losses were to conference rival UNLV, who went on to blow out everyone on their way to the title. Hey, Long Beach deserved to be in the tournament. I would have loved to have seen what they would have done if they gotten in. They weren't. Because of what, politics? I don't know. But because they didn't make it, they land on our list today at number 4. We arrive at number 3, where we once again remind you that a gaudy record doesn't exactly automatically get you into the tournament. Because we've seen teams that didn't make our list today, like College of Charleston. They went 24-3. Davidson went 25-4. They both got left out back in the 90s. Everyone just said, well, they hadn't played anyone. However, In 2004, the Aggies of Utah State had a legitimate gripe. The Aggies' record that year was 25-3. That is the best winning record by percentage, .893, to ever be left out of the big dance. Utah State spent the second half of the year ranked nationally. They dominated the Big West. They beat BYU, who did get in, but of course, BYU is a bigger name nationally than Utah State. A regular season championship in the 18th ranked conference in the NCAA computers meant nothing. And so Utah State, who finished the season with a 1-point loss in the Big West tournament semifinals, got knocked out. They didn't get a sniff. Head coach Stu Morrill was not happy, and who could blame him? The 2004 Utah State Aggies went 25-3 and got left out. They come in today at number 3. We reached number 2 on our list of March Madness snubs, and big surprise, we reach another team that doesn't have a household name. But check out the resume. They were a preseason number 22. They peaked at number 11. They actually were 23-2 at the time, but they never got their name called on Selection Sunday. Head coach Randy Bennett took over this program in 2001, and he has managed to get the St. Mary Gales to the big dance 10 times in that time. Hey, not bad for a little Catholic school in Northern California. They've only got like 4,000 kids enrolled at that campus. But in 2018, the St. Mary's Gales were number 22 in the preseason. Bennett led them to a 30-6 overall record behind guard Jordan Ford and big man Jock Landale. They beat number 13 Gonzaga in January. But in the West Coast tournament, they lost to BYU, and that was just unforgivable by the selection committee, who instead placed 19-15 Alabama in and 18-13 Oklahoma in. Oh, I know. They played a tougher schedule, right? Here's a question I have for the selection committee, and I have it every year. Why do you give credit to teams for playing games if they lose those games? Hey, no one wants the schedule of St. Mary's. And it cost them in 2018. And it lands them on our list today at number 2. So we reach the number 1 March Madness Selection Sunday snub of all time. And since the NET ranking, the net ranking, was introduced back in 2018, no team ranked in the top 30 has ever missed a tournament. Yeah, until last year, when a number 29 NET net ranking on Selection Sunday became the highest ranked team ever to miss the tournament completely. Because the Indiana State Sycamores had a solid 28-6 season, but they didn't secure the Missouri Valley Conference automatic bid because they lost to Drake in the conference tournament by 4 points. Well, Drake went on to be a 10 seed. The Sycamores, meanwhile, got left at home. Now, what might have hurt Indiana State was that their quad 1 record was 1-4. Their only road victory was against Bradley, but they had close losses to number 24 Alabama and to Michigan State, and still, the Indiana State Sycamores were high in the one thing that the selection committee claims they value the most. They were high in that net ranking. They were number 29 in that net ranking, which is what the committee says they value. But when it came time to actually put teams in, the selection committee took number 51 South Carolina, number 53 Northwestern, and number 54 Virginia instead. Hey, come Sunday, we're going to be hearing about quadrant wins and quality losses and net rankings and KenPom rankings and all of the typical nonsense. Just remember this. The selection committee is in charge of creating a TV show. And if they're going to make a TV show, then they're going to want big stars. And if your favorite team is on a bubble, I'm just warning you, you better win your tournament because you just might not have the name recognition that the committee swears they don't even look at. But you can see from our list today, oh, they absolutely do. Hey, next week on The Dose, I am actually chasing a guest to help us break down those March Madness brackets. But either way, we'll be keeping you up on all that is going on in the world of sports So be sure you check out the Daily Dose and be sure you let a friend know to do the same. Hey, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for listening to the Daily Dose every week. Thank you for the emails. Thank you for the texts. Thank you for the tweets. But more than anything, thank you for sharing the show, for sharing the videos, for sharing the articles with someone that you know. We absolutely love it when you do that. I say thank you to JSP. Could not do any of this without you. I will see you all next Wednesday. Have a great week, everybody.
Ah, pee and poop.